All right, Dogs by Nature, Rufio here. Today we are looking at Steve Wilks' defense and specifically how he likes to play his zone coverages. So I did an article a couple of weeks ago on Nick Saban, the way he sort of potentially invented pattern match coverage when he was with the Cleveland Browns. He specifically did invent, along with Bill Belichick, the rip-Liz adjustment to 2-by-2 formations out of cover 3. Cleveland next year, we're not likely to run exactly that coverage. We're going to be a bit different. But what you will see out of Steve Wilks is a pattern matching style of zone. He's going to play a similar type of zone coverage where you're not really looking to defend grass. You are looking to find a receiver, find a man running into your area and to match up on that man. So here's what I mean. This is back a few years ago when Wilks was the defensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers. Here you're going to see our good friend Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. And you get here a 3-deep look. So they show a 2-deep safety look before the snap. This is very similar to what Saban likes to do with the rip-Liz coverage. If this were Saban's kind of terminology, Wilks plays this a little bit different, but if it was Saban's terminology, this would be a rip here because the safety's coming down to the right side and fitting into the coverage. He's going to be a part of the 4 underneath zones. In cover 3, you see 4 underneath zones, 3 deep. So that safety's going to come down. He's going to be 1. We have 2 here, linebacker, 3 linebacker, 4 linebacker. Those are your underneath zones. Then this corner and the safety to the high side of the screen are going to be responsible for the 3 deep zones. Now, these 2 corners play this a little bit differently, and this is probably due to formation here. For this corner at the bottom of the screen, he really only has 1 receiver to his side of the field. Either one of these backs or potentially both of them could release to that side, but really there's only 1 vertical threat that can threaten the deep space on this half of the field, and that is this receiver here. To the high side of the screen, we do have a split receiver, but we also have a tight end. Now, either of those players can threaten vertically immediately from the snap. They don't kind of have to leave the backfield and run around the line and then get vertical. So you'll see these 2 corners, these 2 halves of the field play things differently because of that. At the bottom of the screen, this is what I want you to watch about Wilks' zones, is when you have sort of that 1 threat that's going to threaten your area, you'll notice this corner play very tight to the receiver. It looks, almost like a press bail man technique where the corner's coming up tight and then bailing off the snap. But look at how aggressive he is with jumping that route, jumping that curl route. As soon as he sees that receiver plant, he is attacking the ball in front of him, and that really doesn't look like a deep zone to that side. If we rewind it, we can contrast that with the high side of the field. This corner does have to play softer initially because this threat here could get rerouted to him. But as the play develops, only as the play develops and that corner sees only the 1 vertical threat, the second threat goes inside here, then that corner knows, okay, there's nobody left that can threaten deep, and he's free to jump. Now, you notice Buffalo had some really good play design here, and they actually sent the fullback in a wheel route. If that corner jumps the curl here, and the play takes longer to develop, and the linebacker doesn't carry that fullback with the wheel, that could have ended up wide open. As you see here, that linebacker does give up. He sees the quarterback's shoulders open the other way. He sees the ball gone, and so he doesn't actually have to turn and run with that threat up the sideline. But this combination here can be dangerous for a cover 3 team, especially one that likes to get aggressive with those corners jumping those routes of number 1. If you send number 2 or number 3 outside, into their area and push them vertical, if you're able to do that, it can really hurt this kind of cover 3 where you're doing more of a pattern match. Now, this example is from Wilks' defense last year with the Arizona Cardinals. It is not cover 3. It doesn't look like cover 3 to me. This could be potentially a quarter, half. Corner playing a deep quarter, safety playing a deep quarter, and then this corner playing a deep half. But to me, it looks like more of a pure quarters coverage where you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive backs, each take 1/4 of the field deep. That leaves 3 underneath defenders for zones underneath. That's not the point here about the coverage. The point is 2 things. The first is I want you to watch this player right here. This is what I would call kind of the apex, right? It's almost the number 2, not the number 2 receiver, but the number 2 defender. And whenever they have a receiver that they're lined up over that can threaten the seam in cover 3, in quarters, they're going to reroute this player from the inside out in Wilks' scheme. With Saban and Rip Liz, we saw Saban rerouting that player from the outside in, kind of trying to funnel that player to a deep single high safety. And if you play with outside leverage here, you can kind of push them that way so that the safety can guard them. In Wilks' scheme, you're going to see that player, instead of with an outside in leverage, you're going to see them play as you do in alignment here, from the inside out. And you're trying to, as the play develops, get your hands on that receiver and make them run around you, pushing them wide. And in cover 3, this is not cover 3, but if it were, that's more of the corners area to have to cover that second receiver. So that does require you to be a little bit softer with your corner. They can't just jump one all the time, all the one vertical, because if 2 goes vertical and gets rerouted into their area, they have to be back there to cover it. Now, something else I want you to watch in this play, this is a bootleg fake, kind of a zone fake that's Seattle's very famous for. After the fake develops, watch these underneath defenders, and specifically number 20, Buchanan, right here. As soon as he recognizes and reads fake, he gets a read at what the quarterback is doing, but then look at the turn and find, right? This is, not your traditional zone coverage where you're just dropping to a spot and hoping that you're in the right area to cover, the people that you need to cover. This is turning and finding somebody and really matching up on them, much like you would in man-to-man coverage, but you are letting the route distribute first and then looking to match up once that person enters your zone. So that is more of the style of zone defense that you're likely to see from Wilks next year. It's something I'm encouraged by. In that clinic talk, Saban, talked about when Marino is throwing it, and quarterbacks today, make no mistake about it, are very, very good. When these NFL guys are throwing it, the old drop to your spot and break on the ball stuff, that doesn't really work. So I do like that Wilks will mix it up and do some of this pattern match stuff. Now, last play that we're going to look at here is going to be cover 3. Here you can see the Cardinals defense getting really aggressive with their look. They are threatening blitz. With a lot of these linebackers, a slot corner could come as well. You never know from a Wilks defense, and you love that about him. But in this case, it's going to be a bail out of this blitz look. It is going to be cover 3. You may have an argument for a quarter, half coverage, but with the way this safety drops and turns and opens his hips to the middle of the field, it really does make me think 3 deep, cover 3. Regardless, you're going to see some of the same things that we saw in the previous clip, and that is specifically that these apex players, the second player in, if it's a safety, if it's a slot corner, it doesn't matter what kind of personnel this is, but not the corner, the next defender in, you're going to see them reroute any vertical of number 2 to the corner. You're going to see them push it to the corner. Now, this is simultaneously a really good example of how to play this and a really poor example on the other half of the field. So if we look at the good example first, at the bottom side of the screen, we see the corner soft. He knows number 1 or number 2 can threaten him deep. He knows he has to stay over the top of either of those vertical threats. As the play develops, we get hands on number 2. We reroute him outside, out of the seam. Notice if this guy went inside, there's no way that free safety can get all the way over to cover him. So we're having to reroute him into the corners area. And as number 2 leaves that vertical release, he is running right into the corners coverage. That's exactly how the Cardinals want it. That's exactly how Wilks wants it. And this route concept actually by Seattle, that's where the receiver's going as well. So he's kind of running right into the coverage, but it helps to play it right down here. But you still see that aggressive reroute of number 2 out of the seam and pushing him to the corner. And then you see anyone that enters your zone, you're going to match up with, right? And run with like a man-to-man coverage. That's how you want to play it to the bottom side. To the top side, we see the corner getting too aggressive. This is Patrick Peterson up here. It's not often that he's beat. And, I think a lot of fans kind of rightfully complained about him not being able to play as much man-to-man as he's used to playing. Obviously, a very good man-to-man coverage corner. But in this scheme, he's responsible for playing just as this corner is the deep third. And on this side of the screen, as that number 2 gets rerouted to his area, he tries to jump the route of number 1. Now, that's obviously a problem because there's nobody back there to cover number 2, and he wins on this corner. It's the easiest throw and catch touchdown I think you'll ever see in the NFL. It's quite simply a blown coverage. So, we saw some of the dangers with the corners in the Panthers clip of jumping number 1 too early, not respecting the other vertical threats at your side of the field, and that's exactly what can happen if those corners get too happy to jump number 1. Now, this is obviously a big mistake by Wilks' defense, but trust me, the coverage is sound, the scheme is sound. It's just a simple mistake by a player on the field. What I do like about this scheme is that you are going to see a more aggressive, kind of pattern matching type of zone defense. And with these kinds of disguises and blitz looks, Wilks really does like to mix it up, especially on third down, bring some heat, bring blitzes from all over. And I think that's really the game plan, the blueprint for success in today's NFL is get the other team in third and long and then disguise some kind of blitz that they're not ready for, that attacks the protections they like to use, and then get them off the field. So we'll look at some of Wilks' blitzes next time. For now, I'm Rufio. Make sure to visit dogsbynature.com for all your Browns news and analysis. I'll see you all in the chow. Thanks for tuning in.